We're living in the most populated period of all of human history, with roughly 7.9 billion people currently throughout the world, and it's projected that by 2030 there will be 8.5 billion people. We're living in one of the most populated periods throughout history, and we're living in one of the most socially compacted periods throughout human history, with more and more people populating the major cities of the world and with more and more people living amongst one another. But with that has come an increase in loneliness. And it's estimated that roughly 33% of people worldwide feel loneliness. Now, there's many reasons for this, including social and economic issues, but it brings us into today's discussion, which is understanding the importance of solitude. This goes without saying that just because you adapt monk mode does not mean it's going to fix all of your problems. Of course, there's many people that feel lonely because of reasons that are completely out of their control. But if you're the type of person where you feel lonely because of reasons that you know that you can fix, or there's something that you can directly control that is going to alleviate your levels of loneliness, then understanding what solitude is could be beneficial for you. To understand how solitude can help you, we first turn to how solitude has been understood historically. Our first example is going to be the Stoics of ancient Greece. And if you're not aware of what Stoicism is the philosophy of accepting life's hardships and pain and suffering, and to not allow both good and bad things that happen around you to govern how you live life. And so the ultimate goal of being a Stoic is to live life virtuously. The goal ultimately is to live life aligned with the greatest virtues of life, such as being a good person, being charitable, being well-tempered, all the things that we can think that are good characteristics of a person. And so loneliness and solitude, as understood by the Stoics, would simply be another current circumstance that you're dealing with where there's room for growth and room for understanding. And so if you're feeling lonely, then there's a reason for that. And what you should be doing is to be introspective and to understand what the reasons that could be that you're being lonely. Not to allow it to shape how you act as a person, how you move throughout the world, but to understand the reasons that you're feeling lonely and the impact that it has on you as a person. And in so doing that, you'll gain solitude. And so you'll be accepting of the loneliness. And you'll find that maybe there's growth in being lonely as a person, and maybe there's strength and understanding what type of person you are when you feel lonely. It's the same with Buddhist monks, where when the feeling of loneliness arises for them, they just understand it as another sensation and emotion arising in the apparatus of consciousness. And so for them, they understand that this doesn't encapsulate the type of person they are. It's simply another fleeting circumstance. And so they will meditate on the feeling of loneliness, and then they'll come to realize is that there is no such thing as the feeling of loneliness. It's just another fleeting motion and sensation that's just happening in the moment that will pass. And so in understanding the historical context of solitude, we can move on to the second portion of our discussion. There's a plenitude of benefits that come with adapting to solitude. One of these being that you could potentially have better sleep. So if you're constantly around people, or you're constantly having to talk to people about doing things, or you're always having to check your emails or do things that involves being in contact with other people, then it might be harder to actually get sleep because of that. And so you might just find that by having less interaction with other people when it's getting close to the end of the night, that by limiting your interactions with other people, then it might just help you to wind down easier and to go from the state of being wakeful and energetic to going into the state of wanting to sleep. The second potential benefit could be increased creativity. Now, I can attest to this, and many others can, that when you're in the state of being alone, you find that you have the ideas you have about certain topics, such as writing a paper or getting your work done, that the answers that you're able to come up with are much more creative, and they're new, and they're things that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And the reason that you might feel more creative is because usually when you're in a social circumstance, you're having to bounce around ideas with another person that are not really going to give new ideas. Now, you might come to a new understanding of the thing that you're talking about with the other person, but when you're constantly talking with other people, you're not really thinking of it's harder to think about new things right on the spot and think about ingenious things while you're talking away with the other person about whatever it is you're talking about. And so in adapting to solitude, you might just find that we'll become a more creative person. The third potential benefit you might find is an increase in your time management skills. And so if you adapt to solitude, you might just find that you might be able to pick up on the cues of all the things that you're not getting done in your life. And so you'll be able to pinpoint everything that needs to get done. And the reason for this could be that when you're constantly around other people, and that for instance, when you're off time from work or school and you're surrounding yourself with other people, you're giving yourself less chance to be introspective. And in thus doing so, give yourself less of a chance to be able to understand all the important things that need to get done in your life. The fourth potential benefit you could find is that you might become more productive. And so in adapting to solitude, you might just find that you're able to get more stuff done in a more efficient manner. And the reason for this could be that, as I just said, if you're constantly around other people, you're pretty much just going to get distracted. I mean, if you're just talking to people nonstop and not getting anything done, it's going to be harder to get things done. Now, there's many more benefits that could be listed from adapting to solitude, but there's one important observation to make on the topic of solitude. All the benefits that I've listed can really come down to one thing, that's emotional regulation. Being alone and adapting to solitude is not going to make you stronger or a faster reader or any of that. It might, but it's not likely that's going to happen. From the benefits I've listed, such as getting more sleep, being more productive, being more creative, what do all of these mean? Why is it that when you're alone and you're happy with being alone, all these good things, all these good emotional things are happening to you? And it can really come down to this. And it's from a quote that I don't remember where I saw it, but it goes along the lines of, if you don't talk to yourself once a day, you might miss having an excellent discussion, or something along those lines. And what it essentially means is that all the solutions to your problems start from you. And there's a reason that you're going to be more productive, more creative, get better sleep. It's because you're getting rid of all of your problems by being alone. And so if you're constantly around other people and you're talking about nonsense and things that are just not going to help you, if you're alone, you're going to become more aware of those things and more conscientious of the things that you're wasting your time on. And so doing that, you'll be able to rectify it and fix those problems. And with the problem of already being alone and not being able to gain any benefits from it, then there's always a reason for such a thing happening. And so you need to understand what your loneliness means. What does it mean when you tell yourself that you're lonely? Is it something that's social? Well, you can go find someone to meet out on the street or go into your class or work and start a conversation with someone and then go from there. Do you feel like you're an outlier with the people that you already know and that you feel alone in the sense that nobody really understands what you care about and the things that you think about? Then don't surround yourself with such other people. But what it comes down to is understanding what your description of loneliness is. But it boils down always to being introspective and understanding that the first place to start is from within. So with that is the end of the video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about solitude, loneliness, and how you've been able to change yourself by being alone. And with that, see you all in the next one.